Hi, my name is Stephen Joseph, and I'm the president and founder of EvoStream Communications. Today, I wanted to talk about POTS lines. POTS lines, or plain old telephone service, are the old copper lines that reside in most customers' telephone closets. They connect to things like alarms, elevators, and fax, and sometimes even old key systems to use for phone lines. Now, most of these lines go overlooked because they're sitting around, they're usually not used or only used for these less relative services. So, why are they important? POTS lines are important because oftentimes they connect business critical services, especially alarms and elevators, to the phone company and often to the alarm system companies. So we all need to maintain a certain amount of POTS lines in our environment. The challenge is that carriers are no longer supporting these POTS services. AT&T, Verizon, CenturyLink have all decided that they are no longer going to put their focus and energy on these old copper services. So, how do we handle supporting these lines? And how do we avoid large tariff and rate hikes that we find in notifications like the one I'm looking at right now from AT&T? The solution that we use at EvoStream Communications is to advise our clients to consider moving their services to an aggregator. Aggregators are wholesalers who have the ability to resell and combine services from multiple service providers, including LECs all over the country, to include POTS service on one bill for a single customer. Not only is this a simplified way of getting your POTS bills, but it's also a way of collecting the inventory and starting to optimize and create efficiencies across this environment. Why would you do that? Well, of course, when you're getting notices from the telephone company that say, in this case, basic access lines are gonna cost as much as $430, you have to do something with that service. Moving the service over to an aggregator will allow you, first and foremost, to start to collect the inventory, as I mentioned earlier. Second, it's going to allow that aggregator to work with you to start to create optimizations. Oftentimes, customers have POTS lines that are no longer in use. The aggregator and our team can help tag, locate, and make sure that all of these lines are still being utilized. Once we find the lines that are no longer in use, we can remove them from your service and, of course, save you money on your bill. Then the lines that are remaining can be further optimized into other services that allow you to maintain an analog signal that can convert the feed from the carrier to internet-based. How do we do that? Well, there are services out there where we can bring in an LTE card or your internet service, and then over that service, we can convert a SIP signal into an analog signal. Once we have the analog signal at your location, you will no longer be relying on old copper lines. Some of these lines are in old telephone closets, they're in conduit that gets wet during storms, and they're no longer reliable. So, with a lack of reliability and the increased cost, you really need to have a strategy around POTS service. In many customers, we've noticed that POTS service can represent more than 20% of their overall telecom spend. That's significant enough to warrant an investigation of all of your POTS services across your environment, especially if you have multiple locations. EvoStream Communications can work with our clients to make sure that your POTS service is not costing you an arm and a leg. We can make sure that all of your POTS services are accounted for. Once we have all of the inventory, we can move them over to an aggregator. Now, this doesn't require a rip and replace in most situations. Usually, all it requires is that you sign an LOA and we do a billing TSA, which means we're just going to transfer the billing over to the new provider. This simplifies the process, and it also allows you to get a handle on all of the inventory that you have. Once the inventory is in a single place, then we can start our optimization process. If you're concerned about your POTS service, please contact us at www.evo-stream.com. And you can always direct message me via LinkedIn. And we can certainly help you get your arms around what can be a frustrating component of your telecom environment.